All right, good afternoon, family. We're coming to you from the set of Champions today. My name is Edward Alvarado. And today I got some guests here with me today. One who was lost, who says he was lost with no direction. We also got a gentleman here that's visiting us on our show today that was incarcerated over 60 times in the same county, and he has an awesome story. We also have a gentleman that's joining us today that is going to be discussing just his feelings of being trapped in a small community that was filled with gang violence and how his environment impacted him. We also got a gentleman that's going to be visiting us later on at the end of the show, towards the end, and he's going to be telling his story in depth of how he received a gunshot and the despair that happened when he called his mother and his mother told him he could not come home. So welcome our guests as we go forward. Today we have with us Mr. Rigoberto Orias. We have Mr. Corey Frazier with us today on the set as a guest. We also have Mr. Robert Taylor with us. Mr. Toribio Fuentes. So gentlemen, once again, we're heading up this citywide collaboration, making a difference in future generations. And we're talking about Pastures on Point. I know that this has been promoted throughout the city, but today we're here just to get a different perspective of what we're looking at. Is change really possible within the community as the message goes out? Is change really possible? And I recognize that you guys are all wearing champion shirts. Yes, we are on the set of Champions today. So that being said, we're gonna just kind of get a feeling of where you're coming from, your depth of despair that you've experienced in your past, in your former life, and what did you embrace? What is it that you embraced, and where are you going from here? So, Mr. Rigoberto, just hearing your story, you sharing your story earlier. You said you were lost with no direction, and you needed to feel like you were involved in something or accepted. How did that go? What started you off at such a young age?
Just curiosity and always being feeling outcasted. You know what I mean? I just felt like I didn't belong. You know what I mean? I always had my parents with me, but it was just like they were there, you know what I mean? My dad had always been a provider. Not to get all corny or nothing, but not the type to play catch or nothing like that. Just, you know what I'm saying, he was there.
Sure.
But I love him for that. But at the same time, now that I'm older, I feel like me being a father figure now, that's something that's not the route that I would go. So just feeling outcasted and feeling like I needed to be part of something led me to stray to a life of gang activity and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. So at a young age, you begin to gravitate to a place where you felt accepted in the gang world and gravitating to gang violence. Who were your mentors as you grew up in terms of gangs?
Basically, I just looked up to people. I never had nobody telling me like these are the ropes, and you know what I mean. So I basically learned on my own, like the street life. But I just looked up to like older family members. My brother, one of them, he stopped at a young age. He had kids and changed his life around. But I was already gravitated to that lifestyle, and there was no pushing me away from it, even if I wanted to, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, it's interesting to see you here today, and the changes that you have made in your life. What brought you to Champions? What is it that led you this route to treatment?
Well, this is my first program, and as far as rehabilitation goes, I never took that route. I was the type to always just do my time. But this last time around, I caught a case, and it was going to send me back to the county for a couple years. And I got tired of just doing that flat time, man, and there ain't no opportunities in there, you know what I mean? So I was like, let me try this, let me take this other route, and it landed me here, you know what I mean? Out of all the opportunities I had, to find a program, like a whole month, I waited to the last minute, and I ended up at the Champions front door at the DRC, and and they accepted me right there. They were willing to let me in the program right there and then, you know what I mean? And I was like, wait, hold up, you know what I mean? So they gave me a chance to get some things that I needed to take care of because I was working and trying to do right, you know what I'm saying? But it led me here, man, and I'm grateful for it, you know what I'm saying? It helped me, this opportunity helped me to sharpen up my tools and get ready mentally as well spiritually to head back out to the real world and face those demons that once haunted me or whatnot.
So you know that's really exciting to hear your story and to see that you embrace change here at Champions. But tell me, from here on out, it's evident that you have embraced the tools that are necessary and the change that is occurring in your life. It's evident that you've embraced treatment. You here now, I see you, and you always speak about your family and your daughter and your kids. Where are you going from here? What are your hopes from here? What are your hopes for your future?
Well, it's I still think about what I'm gonna do, but as far as like that goes, I'm just gonna be a provider like my father was, you know what I mean, and just be that role model that I didn't have when I was a kid, and just try to be that head of my household, you know what I'm saying, that structure, and make sure that I got that foundation laid out, like just and make sure I use the tools that I learned here, you know what I'm saying, and put those into play, you know what I mean, and just remember what I've learned here and not lose sight of that, you know what I'm saying, because it's real easy to get to stay out of tune, you know what I'm saying, and just fall back into that lifestyle. So I'm just gonna make sure that I stay in tune with those tools and everything I need to stay on that positive path.
Wow, that's really exciting for me to hear. Before I move forward to our next guest, tell me, 5 years ago, would have pictured yourself here in a change in treatment?
Not a million years, man.
That's right. It's good to have you on the set. Our next guest grew up in a small community. His name is Robert Taylor. He grew up in a small community that is, infested with gang violence, infested with just gang activity, and he is a product of his environment. We're going to go ahead and just ask him a couple of questions. Mr. Robert Taylor, what age were you when you began to gravitate towards gang violence?
12.
12, huh? What was a major factor in your life at that time which kind of caused you to gravitate that route?
I didn't have my dad, so I was real mad at the world. I just hated everything around me because I didn't have a father like the other kids did. So therefore, I followed, just that street life. Everybody was fighting, and the next, once I got to around 12 years old, started noticing people wearing different colors, and that's kind of how I got into it. I like to fight, and I had so much anger, just it all came together and just played in perfectly,
Sure.
At the time, I thought it was a cool thing to do. I thought it was, I thought I was gonna be somebody, and I was lied to, lied to myself, and was told different,
Sure. So what brought you to Champions? What brought you to this place where it's evident you're embracing change? What brought you to Champions? What is it?
First, I've been wanting change, actually having the courage to change. It's been hard. I didn't have it, but unfortunately, I got another case, and I made another bad decision, and I kept making mistakes, and throughout this whole time, these last few years, I've been in the back of my head, wanting change, and somebody told me about this program, told me about Samuel's House, and told me what good of a program it was, and so I decided, maybe it's time I take that chance, and I applied, and I got accepted, and here I am, trying to take full advantage of it, and luckily it's worked out, it turned out to be a great program. If you open your mind and are willing to change, it's a great program. Anything's possible.
Absolutely. Are you anticipating a great turnout for this event we're having, where we're stopping the violence, Pastors on Point?
Oh yeah, I'm expecting a great turnout. I think it's going to be wonderful. You're going to have all the churches there. You're going to have a lot of people coming out to attend. Especially, there's a lot of people that are tired of the gang violence. and I really believe that, you know, everybody getting together like that, and it's just going to strengthen the town, the city, the county. Everybody's just, you know, the families are going to come out and they're going to see that, you know, that you can change. You know, maybe they got a loved one, or maybe there's somebody that's in a gang that's going to come out, and you know, they got it in the back of their mind that they want change, and they're going to hear, you know, what we have to say. They're going to embrace something, you know, is going to click, you know, and if not now, maybe later, you know, it's good. Their opportunity is going to come up, and they're going to be, you know, pushed to make that decision, and like I did, you know, and hopefully they'll embrace it and move forward, you know.
Wow, that's very exciting. Now listen, all the years that you represented a gang member, you obviously were involved in activity, criminal activity for the gangs. Here today, as you embrace change, my observation is now that you represent a father, right?
Yes.
You have children, and you carry yourself as a father. Is that who you feel you represent today now that you've embraced treatment?
Most definitely, most definitely. I love my kids. I want them to have what I didn't have, you know, and I want them to know that there is a better life, and that the footsteps I follow, that's the wrong path, you know. I want them to understand that there's so much more to life, and so much more to do with their life, you know, and that, you know, hopefully with my positive, you know, thinking and my positive outlook on life now, hopefully I can instill that in them, and have them, you know, follow in that side, you know, because you know, that old life, that former life I lived is nothing but a lot of hurt and pain, you know, and you know, destruction, and it's just not the way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Same question, real brief, real quick before we move on to our next guest. Did you ever picture yourself here 5 years ago?
No, I didn't. I was so deep in my addiction and you know, the gang life that I didn't see nothing, no other way, you know. I wasn't sure, you know. I didn't know.
Wow. Thank you very much, sir. Our next guest we have, he's been incarcerated for over 60 times here in Kings County due to his addictive past. And he has an awesome story of overcoming the obstacles in his life at this time. And we just want to welcome Corey Frazier. Give it up for Corey Frazier. Now, Mr. Frazier, with so many arrests, what caused you, what brought you to Champions? What brought you to a place where you decided in your life that you did not want to do the time anymore, and you decided a change is necessary? What brought you here to Champions?
Well, to start off, I got 5 kids, and me being incarcerated so many times just caused me to watch my kids grow up through pictures and be away from my family at times that they really needed me, you know. So I just, and not only that, on the top of that, I just got tired of living that same cycle, in and out of jail, in and out of prison. I also been to prison 6 times, in and out of prison, in and out of jail. You know, I got to the point where I just told myself, look, if you don't want to continue the rest of your life like this, you're going to have to change something. You know what I mean? And I've been through a program before, I just wasn't ready to change. I was addicted to the lifestyle I was living, the fast money that I was making, and things like that. You know, so I just wasn't really feeling the change back then. So now I just look at it as, I got a 3-year-old son now, and I'm not trying to watch him grow up through pictures like I did my oldest kids. You know, I wish I would have got the concept back then, but you know, you got to start somewhere. So my oldest son told me, Dad, just promise me you're not going back to jail. I mean, so I told him, I said, you know what? I said, I'm done. I'm not going to sell no more drugs. I'm not going back to prison because of drugs. I'm going to be here to make sure I'm there to watch you do your sports, because my son played all sports. Any sport they got to offer, my son is involved in it. So I'm like, you know, I promise you that I'm going to be here from here on out. You know, I can't go to jail no more because I see that it's affecting y'all. You're getting old enough to understand now where I'm at, how long I've been gone, you know, so it's just time for me to change my life. You know what I mean? I'm tired of doing the same old thing over and over and over.
Wow, absolutely, absolutely. Now, you coming from your former life of being in and out of incarceration, I mean, it's obvious you were part of the recidivism rate and the things going in and out of incarceration. How do you feel today? How do you feel today as a parent? How do you feel today now that you've embraced change and treatment? How do you feel?
I feel awesome. I've never felt this way in my life. Healthy is the way to go. You know, drugs, I'm just tired of it. I've never weighed this much in my entire life, you know what I mean? But it feels so good to weigh this much and be actually healthy and not have to worry about the next day where I'm gonna get my fix or where I'm gonna get anything like that. So it just feels good to be able for my kids to call me and let me know, Dad, I need this, I got this coming up, can you be there? Or can you help me out with this, I got this going on. And me not worrying about being on drugs and running the streets and involved in my gang and all that, it feels so good, man. It just, words can't explain it, you know. It's just, my kids are just happy. I see the outcome of them the outcome of them being happy, and the way that they change and the way they look up to me now that I'm not on drugs, I'm not constantly running the streets, I'm not in jail. They just tell me all the time, Dad, I love you. You know, I miss you. I love to see you when you get a chance to come, you know. So I'm just taking my chance, man, to come to Champions and better my life. It's a bunch of good brothers here in this program, you know, and I'm just taking this chance, man, to grasp it all and use the tools that I'm getting here in this program, man, to better my family and myself.
Absolutely. Come on, give it up for Mr. Frazier. Thank you. Are you excited to be a part of Pastors on Point, the citywide collaboration, Stop the Violence?
Yes, I am. I'm very excited to be a part of that. Hopefully, the words that I speak and my brothers speak can encourage some kind of kid or some adult to help their kid and stop all of the foolishness, you know, and just turn it around and take all that negative and turn it into a positive and just teach these kids that that's not the way to go. I know I don't want my kids to grow up like that. So this program is going to be a big help for our community, and I'm pretty sure we're going to get a pretty good outcome because the community is completely tired of all the shootings and gang violence going on and the drug dealing and all that. So I'm pretty sure we're going to get a pretty good outcome doing this program.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being on our chat once again. And last but not least, we have a guest here today. His name is Toribio Fuentes, and he explained earlier in depth just a specific incident where he got shot, and he remembers calling his mother and just the point of despair that he had when he called her and she said that he could not come home because of his influential character within the house of being a gang member with the younger brothers. So you know what? Let's give Mr. Fuentes a hand. And Mr. Fuentes, you're actually you were in the beginning stages of Samuel's house. You were a completing member, yes. And you've accomplished so much. But tell us about your early days and your early experiences in the gang lifestyle.
Well, Eddie, I want you to picture this, right? A single mother, 25 years old, 5 boys.
Wow.
That's how old she was when she had all 5 of her kids. At the time, I was 12 years old. We lived in Hanford. My cousins were gangbanging, and I thought, man, this is so cool. This is something I want to be a part of. I saw all the girls that they would get. I would see the colors they were repping, the money, and just popularity. They're a part of something. Me growing up, you know, in a single home, my mother just it was hard not having no male figure around, and then also growing up poor. I decided that I wasn't going to be like that. That I wasn't going to let my life turn out that way. That I was going to become something. I just chose to become something in the streets.
Sure.
There was a point where my house was getting raided every other week. My brother was being put in handcuffs. I remember my baby nephew being born. He was a year old, being pulled at gunpoint by the ATF. At gunpoint, imagine, you know, my mom had to carry him out of the house while I'm being handcuffed. My family was saying they're tired of this. And yet my mother continued to let me come home. Every time I'd get out of jail, she'd be like, son, this is your home. Like so many of my friends that were homeless, I wasn't one of those. So you can understand, my mother really, really loved me.
Absolutely.
One night though, I happened to get shot, and spun out of my mind, high on drugs. I wasn't gonna go to the hospital. You know, I was like, I'm on probation. I'm not gonna turn myself in. They're gonna get me. I'm not gonna cooperate. So I'm going to jail. So you know what? I'm just gonna run. But at the time, I was so scared if the bullet was in there, if the bullet wasn't. And my mom, you know, she was a nurse. So I give her a call. It's like 11:30 at night, and I'm like, Mom, I gotta tell you something. I just got shot. What do I do? And for a long pause, my mom didn't say nothing, you know, and I'm like, okay, Mom, come on, what do I do? And she wouldn't respond. Finally, she said, you know what, son, I love you, but I am tired. I am tired of constantly worrying about you. I'm tired of constantly worrying about your younger brothers. I'm tired. Do not come home. You are not welcome in this house. I don't want your influence to influence your younger brothers. and she hung up the phone. Now I have blood on my foot, you know what I mean? I'm trying to pretend like this don't hurt. I'm bleeding like crazy. I'm high, but I felt her pain, and in that moment, I've never felt it so lost. And I realized that I had nobody to blame but myself. You know, there was no going back to that. There was no going back from that point on. So I decided to go all out. If my mother didn't want me home, then fine. Then I was gonna go all out. I was gonna get retaliation. I was gonna do what I had to do, and I was gonna beat somebody in the streets because I could no longer go home. It led to a life of chaos, you know, destruction, despair, having kids real early, having multiple baby mamas. It was just a chaotic life. Afterwards, my mother realized that, you know what, she couldn't say no to me. So, you know, within a few years, she was like, come back home. And I continued, in doing so, I influenced my younger brothers. I got them hooked on drugs. One of them got into the gang lifestyle just like me. And all she could do was just sit back and watch as her sons constantly went to jail. And it was no longer me, it was my younger brothers.
Sure.
And all she could say was, look, you see, they wanted to be so much like you. You were their father, and look what happened. Sure. And that's a painful thing to realize. When your brother's in jail and you hear that he's about to get stabbed, or you hear that something's going to happen to him, you can't do nothing about it.
Sure.
You know?
So back in 2012, 2013, you made a decision to come to Champion Samuel's house. What brought you to that decision point?
Honestly, a woman. You know, a woman did. I have children with this woman who, if you can imagine, was just like me. You know, very scandalous, very active, hardcore, knuckleheaded person. She went to prison, she got out, and she enrolled in this program called Champions, Hannah's house. And when she gets out, I remember telling this woman, you ain't gonna make it. You know, I know you're not gonna make it. And she proved me wrong. She did the program, she did the whole year in this program. And I started to see the changes that were going on in her life, started to see the changes that were happening to this woman. And she went from this scandalous, knuckleheaded person to this respectable woman in the community. You know, she allowed God into her life. She started to get back our kids. She started to even work for Champions and started to do great things. And I said, you know what, I want this. You know, this actually works. It's something that I've seen firsthand that works, and I wanted a piece of it. So I knew the only way to do it was to actually go through with something that I knew had already worked.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that being said, your story, I mean, is just excellent to see the outcome that you had in regards to treatment, embracing treatment. He actually recovered his kids. He's a single parent, which recovers his kids, and he's actually going to school. Who are you right now? Tell us, if you could describe yourself as a parent and going back and furthering your education. Who are you right now? What do you represent?
At this very moment, I represent a single father who believes in Jesus Christ, showing his kids that change is possible, that they don't have to settle for less. I was never allowed the opportunity to go to college. I didn't go to high school. I just took a test. Never completed a selective service form, but yet with God's help, you know, He opened that door. I continued to submit paperwork after paperwork, and was told, you know, you never did this form, you never completed this form, so therefore there's no funding for you. I didn't give up hope, and eventually God opened that door. Now that He has, I plan on going all the way. You know, I tell people I don't want to stop. I'm going to get my master's. I'm going to get my doctorate. I'm going to be a recovery counselor. I'm going to be a social worker. I'm going to help and go into the worst of the worst places and pull out those, just like myself, that are lost, that have given up hope, and let them know that change is possible. You know, change is possible. That you can be a father to your kids.
Absolutely, absolutely. And before we close up this segment with our guests, you had a message earlier that you wanted to share. Look into the camera in regards of if your daughter got married.
I have a challenge I want to issue to everybody out there, especially those that are still active in this lifestyle, in the gang lifestyle. To the men, I ask you this question. Picture your daughter growing up, right, ready to get married. And she comes to you and says, Daddy, I'm getting married. Now, where do you want to be when those words are uttered out of her mouth? Do you want to be in jail and she's talking to you through a screen telling you, I want to get married and I'm going to come back late next week and show you pictures? Or do you want to be able to say, you know what, baby, that's good. I'm walking you down that aisle. I had that question for myself. And you know what? I realized that the answer was I needed to be there for my kids to be able to walk her down the aisle the day she was ready to give her hand to another man. I'm going to be there. I will not be behind doors. I will not be closed behind bars. I will not allow my past, my history, or other people to dictate how I'm going to live my life. So ask yourself that question. And if your answer is you're going to be there, then come out and join us as we do this event. If your answer is, nah, you know what, I got to be there for my people, then be there for your people. No knock on you. Go ahead, be there for the streets. But I guarantee you, your daughter will get married one day. and she will need you there. And if you're not, somebody else will fill the role. How is that going to make you feel? Thank you.
Absolutely. Let's give it up for Mr. Once again, our segment here on Champions Today, and we are promoting Pastors on Point, a citywide collaboration with many different churches. We're going to make a statement within the city of Hanford, within the county of Kings, that the violence will stop and it can stop in the name of Jesus. Once again, Champions Today, we welcome you. My name is Edward Alvarado. Join us for our continuing segments, and we just thank you for joining us.
Thank you.